Hello and welcome to SpeakUp Session, your favorite English podcast. I'm Emily and I'm joined by my co-host Paul today. We're excited to chat with you about a topic that affects all of us, free time. How are you doing today, Paul?
I'm doing great, Emily. Thanks for asking. Free time is definitely something I think about a lot, especially these days when everyone seems so busy all the time. It's a perfect topic for our listeners.
Absolutely. Before we dive in, let's define what we mean by free time. To me, free time is those precious hours when we're not working, studying, or fulfilling obligations. It's time we can choose how to spend. How would you define it, Paul?
That's spot on, Emily. I'd add that free time is when you have the freedom to do activities purely for enjoyment, relaxation, or personal growth. It's the time when you get to be in charge of your own schedule. And I think how we spend our free time says a lot about who we are.
That's such an interesting point. Our free time choices really do reflect our personalities and values. So let's talk about how we personally spend our free time. During my free hours, I love reading novels, especially mystery and historical fiction. I also enjoy hiking on weekends when the weather permits. What about you, Paul?
Well, I'm a big fan of cooking new recipes I find online. There's something so satisfying about creating a delicious meal from scratch. I also play guitar, not very well, I might add, and I've recently gotten into gardening, which has been surprisingly rewarding. How about our listeners, Emily? I wonder what kinds of activities they enjoy.
I bet they have tons of interesting hobbies. Speaking of which, I've noticed that free time activities tend to change throughout our lives. When I was a teenager, I spent most of my free time hanging out with friends or watching TV shows. Now, I find myself seeking more meaningful activities. Have you noticed your preferences changing over time?
Definitely. In college, my free time was all about video games and parties. Now, I prefer quieter activities that help me recharge after a busy week. I think as we get older, we become more intentional about how we spend our limited free time. It becomes more precious, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And speaking of limited time, that brings us to another important aspect of this topic. Many people feel they don't have enough free time nowadays. Studies show that people are working longer hours and taking fewer vacations compared to previous generations. What do you think is driving this trend, Paul?
That's a complex question, Emily. I think technology plays a big role. We're constantly connected to work through our phones and laptops, which blurs the line between work time and personal time. Also, there's increased economic pressure and competition in many industries, leading people to work more to keep up or get ahead.
Those are excellent points, Paul. I'd add that social media creates this pressure to have a picture-perfect life, which can make people feel they need to be productive or doing something impressive even during their leisure time. It's like we've forgotten how to simply rest and do nothing.
You're right about that. There's this cultural shift where busyness has become a status symbol. People almost compete to see who's the most overwhelmed with work and responsibilities. I've caught myself saying, I'm so busy, like it's something to be proud of, when maybe I should be questioning why I don't have more balance.
That's such an insightful observation, Paul. It reminds me of a concept called time affluence, the feeling of having enough time to do the things you want and need to do. Research suggests that time affluence might be more important for happiness than material wealth. What do you think?
I completely agree with that research. Having all the money in the world doesn't mean much if you don't have time to enjoy it. I've noticed in my own life that when I feel rushed and short on time, my stress levels go up and my enjoyment goes down, regardless of what I'm doing.
That's so true. Let's talk about solutions now. What are some practical ways people can create more free time in their busy schedules or make better use of the time they have?
Great question, Emily. One strategy I found helpful is time blocking. Scheduling specific periods for work, chores, and yes, free time too. Treating leisure as an important appointment rather than something that happens if I have time makes a huge difference. Also, learning to say no to commitments that aren't essential or meaningful to you.
Those are excellent suggestions, Paul. I'd add that reducing screen time can free up surprising amounts of time. The average person spends over 3 hours a day on their smartphone. Even cutting that in half would give people significant extra time for other activities they enjoy.
That's a sobering statistic, Emily. I'm definitely guilty of mindless scrolling sometimes. Another approach is combining activities like listening to podcasts while exercising or catching up with a friend while going for a walk. Multitasking doesn't always work, but it can for certain combinations.
That's a great point about thoughtful multitasking. I also think it's important to mention that quality matters more than quantity when it comes to free time. 15 minutes of an activity you truly enjoy and are fully present for can be more rejuvenating than hours of distracted leisure.
Absolutely. Being mindful and present during our free time is key. That reminds me of a concept called flow. When you're so absorbed in an activity that you lose track of time, those flow experiences, whether it's playing music, painting, or even gardening, tend to be the most satisfying uses of free time.
Flow is fascinating. And it raises an interesting question. Is all free time equal? For example, is watching TV as valuable as creating something or learning a new skill? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a thought-provoking question. I don't think we should judge how people spend their free time. Different activities serve different purposes. Sometimes we need passive entertainment to decompress, while other times we might want something more engaging or challenging. The key is being intentional about your choices rather than defaulting to what's easiest.
I agree completely. It's all about balance and making conscious choices that align with your needs and values. Before we wrap up, let's share one free time activity we'd like to try or spend more time on in the future. For me, it's learning to play the piano. I've always wanted to play, but never made the time for lessons.
That's wonderful, Emily. I hope you go for it. For me, it would be traveling more. Not just big international trips, but even weekend explorations of nearby places that I haven't visited. There's something so enriching about experiencing new environments and cultures.
Travel is such a rewarding way to spend free time. Well, we're nearing the end of our episode. To summarize our discussion today, free time is essential for well-being, yet many people struggle to find enough of it in today's busy world. We've talked about being intentional with leisure time, reducing screen time, and prioritizing activities that bring genuine joy or fulfillment.
And we've highlighted that it's not just about having more free time, but about how we experience the time we have, being present, finding flow, and making choices aligned with our values all contribute to making the most of our leisure hours.
That's a perfect summary, Paul. We'd love to hear from our listeners about how they spend their free time and any strategies they've found to create more balance in their lives. You can share your thoughts in the comment section below or send us a message on social media.
Yes, please do share. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to SpeakUp Session for more conversations about everyday topics in English. You can also support us by leaving a review or sharing the podcast with friends who are learning English.
That's right. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Until next time, this is Emily
and Paul wishing you quality free time and meaningful conversations.
See you next week on SpeakUp Session.
Hey there and welcome. Today we're going to dive into something we could all use a little more of, free time. We're going to explore how to talk about those moments, those precious hours when you finally get to just be yourself. You know, let's just start with this feeling right here. That quiet cup of tea in the morning or those extra few minutes you steal in bed just listening to the world wake up. It's so much more than just not working, isn't it? It's about finding the gold in those slow moments. So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the exact words and phrases you can use to talk about your free time. And then we're going to dig into why this time is so important for your happiness and even for your learning. All right, section 1, the feeling of free time. Before we jump into vocabulary and sentences, let's just connect with the feeling itself. What does free time actually feel like for you? Seriously, take a second. When I say free time, what's the first picture or feeling that pops into your head? For some people, it might be the smell of warm banana bread baking. For others, it's that total silence of a walk in the park. No phone, just you and the trees. What is it for you? Okay, let's roll into section 2 and get a little more practical. Now that we've got the feeling down, how do we actually put it into words? This is all about what you do and where you do it. You know, the simplest way to start is almost always the best. These two phrases are so friendly, so clear, and they're the perfect way to start sharing what you love. In my free time, I like, or I enjoy. Easy, right? And look how simple these sentences are. I enjoy reading in bed. I love gardening in the evening. You don't need some complicated grammar to paint a really clear, personal picture. Simple sentences like these are how we connect with people. Okay, your turn, and I'm serious. Just pick one of those starters and finish the sentence out loud right now. In my free time, I like... Go on. Remember, learning a language isn't about being perfect, it's about being brave. So now, think about where you love to relax. Are you more of an indoor person, someone who loves that cozy feeling of soft lights and a good book? Or do you gotta be outdoors with a big sky and fresh air? You can just say, I prefer staying indoors, or I prefer being outdoors. Both are perfect. Okay, moving right along to section 3, who you spend it with. So we've covered the what and the where. Now let's talk about who you share that precious time with, or if you're someone who loves to enjoy it alone. These sentences show all the different ways we recharge, don't they? You can talk about being with family or friends, but that last one, sometimes I enjoy being alone. That's just as important. It's all about connection, whether that's with other people or just with yourself. This is such a big one. There's a huge difference between being lonely and just being alone, right? Choosing to have some quiet time is so powerful. It's how you can actually process your thoughts, dream a little, and just hear yourself think for a change. All right, let's zoom in a little bit with section 4. We're going to focus on that universal chunk of free time we all look forward to, the weekend. You know, when someone asks about your weekend, it can feel like a big question. So let's just break it down into these super simple steps. First, just picture it. Then grab an easy starter, like on Saturdays, and finally, just share it. See? Way less pressure and a lot more fun. I love how specific and clear these examples are. Take out one. On Sundays, I sleep in and relax. I mean, we can all feel that, can't we? It just goes to show how a few simple words can communicate this amazing feeling of peace and your own personal routine. Let's pause for a quick vocabulary spotlight on the word plan. It can sound kind of formal, right? But it doesn't have to be. A plan can be something super active. But look at this example. Your plan can just be to rest. And honestly, that is a very, very good plan. And that idea, resting as a plan, it brings us perfectly to our final and maybe the most important section of all. We've talked about the how, now let's really get into the why. I really want you to let this one sink in. We live in this world that's all about being busy, 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 and sometimes we can feel guilty for just stopping. But free time is never, ever a waste. It's a gift. It's a gift you give to yourself. And this just builds on that beautiful idea. Lying on the couch, listening to music, just staring out the window, that is not nothing. That is recharging. That's healing. That is essential work for your mind and your soul. So let's just say it as clearly as we possibly can. It is absolutely 100% okay to rest. It's such a simple idea, but boy, do we need to remind ourselves of it sometimes? And here's where it all connects back to your learning. Your brain actually needs downtime to sort through all the new information you're taking in. That's when new connections are made. So when you rest, you literally learn better. Taking a break from your English studies is, weirdly enough, a vital part of your English journey. Which brings us to our final keyword, balance. It's not about all work or all play. It's about finding that perfect middle ground where you feel productive, but also restored. Rest is what lets you feel balanced and what lets you be truly present. Okay, let's put this all together. Think of this as your little conversation cheat sheet. 4 super common questions and 4 simple, confident answers. You could have a great little chat using just these ideas. You've learned all the pieces, and here's how they can fit together perfectly. So, as we wrap things up, I want to leave you with this question. Of all the phrases and ideas we talked about today, what's the one sentence you'll take with you? Maybe it's, I enjoy slow walks with music, or maybe it's just that little reminder that it's okay to rest. Whatever it is, I hope you make it yours. Thanks so much for joining me.